Be me, 21, walking contradiction of modern dating expectations. Decide to try being emotionally mature for once in my pathetic existence. Meet this girl, Mia, at a coffee shop where she's reading some pretentious philosophy book. She's got that artsy vibe going on with paint stains on her fingers and vintage band t-shirts. Approach her like a normal human being instead of my usual autism approach. Hey, that's a really interesting book you're reading, I say, without sounding like a creepy stalker. She looks up surprised that someone actually recognized Nietzsche instead of asking if it's for school. Oh wow, someone who actually reads, she says with genuine interest. We start talking about existentialism and the meaninglessness of modern life. Turns out we both have daddy issues and a shared love of self-deprecating humor. Exchange numbers like civilized adults instead of playing stupid games. Text her that night. Had a great time talking today. Would love to continue the conversation over dinner. She responds immediately with enthusiasm, instead of waiting 3 days like some pickup artist manual. First date goes amazing. We talk for hours about everything from childhood trauma to favorite anime. You know, she says, most guys just want to talk about sports or themselves. Well, I'm definitely not most guys, I reply, thinking this is actually working. She laughs. That's refreshing. Emotional intelligence is so rare these days. Second date, I bring her flowers because I thought that's what emotionally available guys do. She seems touched but also slightly confused by the gesture. Third date, she opens up about her ex, who was apparently an emotionally unavailable piece of shit. He never wanted to talk about feelings or future plans, she complains. That sounds terrible, I say. Communication is the foundation of any good relationship. She nods enthusiastically. Exactly, you get it. We start dating officially after a month of consistent communication and emotional honesty. I actually talk about my feelings instead of bottling them up like a shaken soda bottle. When I'm stressed about work, I tell her instead of pretending everything is fine. When she has a bad day, I listen and offer emotional support instead of trying to fix everything. Bring up relationship milestones and future plans like a responsible adult. Where do you see this going? I ask after 2 months of dating. Most girls would panic at this question, but she seems appreciative of my directness. I really like where this is heading, she says. You're so different from other guys. Start incorporating her into my friend group and meeting her friends. Everyone comments on how healthy our communication is compared to their toxic relationships. Kevin pulls me aside at a party. Dude, you actually figured out how to date like a normal person. Thanks, man, I say. Turns out emotional maturity actually works. 3 months in and everything seems perfect. We never fight because we actually talk things through. When there's a problem, we address it immediately instead of letting it fester. She tells me she loves how open and vulnerable I am compared to her past relationships. You're not afraid to show your emotions, she says. It's so attractive. Start thinking maybe I finally cracked the code to successful dating. Then slowly things begin to shift in ways my autism brain can't quite comprehend. She starts responding to my emotional openness with less enthusiasm. When I tell her about having anxiety about a job interview, she just says that sucks. Used to give me advice and emotional support. Now it's just acknowledgement. Notice she's becoming more distant during our deep conversations. Starts checking her phone more when I'm talking about feelings. Are you okay? I ask. You seem distracted lately. I'm fine, she says, which is universal girl code for definitely not fine. Try to give her space while still being emotionally available. Week later, she suggests we take a break from seeing each other so much. I just need some time to think, she says with that look. Girls get when they're already mentally checked out. My anxiety goes into overdrive because I can sense the relationship dying. Make the mistake of expressing this anxiety to her like an emotionally healthy person would. I'm worried about us, I tell her. Your behavior has changed, and I want to understand why. She gets this annoyed expression, like I just asked her to explain quantum physics. You're being too intense, she says. Can't you just be cool about things? But I thought you liked that I was emotionally available, I respond, confused as hell. I do, but like not all the time, she says, which makes zero logical sense. Try to dial back the emotional honesty while still being supportive. Basically attempt to become Schrodinger's boyfriend, simultaneously available and unavailable. This balancing act lasts about 2 weeks before she drops the breakup bomb, asks me to meet her at the same coffee shop where we first connected. Good morning, sir, the barista says as I walk in, completely oblivious to my impending doom. She's already there, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else on the planet. We need to talk, she says, which are the 4 most terrifying words in the English language. My stomach drops faster than my grades in calculus. I think we should break up, she says without any emotional buildup. Why? I ask, genuinely confused because we literally never fight. You're too emotionally available, she says with complete seriousness. Stare at her like she just told me the sky is purple and gravity works sideways. But that's what you said you wanted, I respond, feeling like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I thought I did, but it's actually kind of overwhelming, she explains. Like when you talk about your feelings all the time, it makes me uncomfortable. And when you want to discuss our relationship, it feels too serious. You sound like some dumb Redditor who read too many self-help articles, she adds with venom. What's next? Are you going to start journaling and asking me about my childhood trauma every dinner? Her tone is getting more condescending by the minute, like she's talking to a child. I just thought healthy communication was important, I defend myself weakly. Healthy communication doesn't mean talking about every single emotion you have, she snaps back. Normal guys don't analyze everything and bring up feelings constantly. Maybe try being more like other guys for once instead of this sensitive therapist wannabe act. The word act hits different because it implies I'm being fake when I'm actually being genuine. So you want me to be emotionally unavailable? I ask, still trying to understand her logic. I want you to be normal, she says, not some emotional vampire who needs constant validation. Realize she's basically calling me needy for having basic human emotions and expressing them. My brain is trying to process this information like a computer running on Windows Vista during a system crash. I feel like I'm stuck in some bizarro world where being emotionally healthy is considered a character flaw. So you're breaking up with me for being emotionally mature? I asked for clarification one more time. It's not that, she says while clearly lying through her teeth. You're just too intense about everything. I need someone who's more mysterious and doesn't share everything they're thinking. Someone who makes me wonder what they're feeling instead of telling me every detail. Basically, she wants a guy who plays mind games and keeps her guessing about his intentions. Realize I'm getting dumped for literally doing everything relationship experts say you should do. This is some next-level psychological warfare, I tell her, trying to maintain some dignity. She gets defensive like I just accused her of war crimes. I'm not trying to hurt you, I just know what I want. And apparently what you want is an emotionally unavailable asshole, I say, finally showing some backbone. That's not fair, she protests, but we both know it's completely accurate and she hates being called out. Walk home feeling like I just got pranked by the universe itself. Kevin finds me later, stress-eating ice cream and watching Attack on Titan. Let me guess, he says. The emotional availability thing backfired. Explain the entire breakup conversation, and he looks genuinely bewildered. So she dumped you for being too emotionally healthy? He asks. Apparently being emotionally available is overwhelming, I say between spoonfuls of Ben & Jerry's. That's the most backward shit I've ever heard, Kevin responds. Women complain that men don't share their feelings, then dump guys who actually do. Spend the next week questioning everything I thought I knew about dating. See her around campus with some new guy who looks like he's never had an emotion in his life. He's got that dead behind the eyes look that girls apparently find irresistible. She looks happy with her emotionally unavailable rebound, which stings more than it should. Realize that maybe society's dating advice is completely upside down. Women say they want emotional availability, but actually prefer the chase of unavailable men. Start talking to other girls and notice a pattern emerging. The ones who claim they want emotional maturity always end up with emotionally stunted guys. Meanwhile, the ones who admit they like assholes are more honest about their preferences. Kevin tries to give me dating advice. Maybe try being more mysterious next time. So your solution is to become emotionally unavailable? I ask. If that's what works, he shrugs. Maybe emotional honesty is overrated. Consider this approach, but realize it goes against everything I believe about healthy relationships. Decide that maybe I'd rather be single than pretend to be someone I'm not. A few months later, Mia tries to text me asking how I'm doing. Apparently, her emotionally unavailable boyfriend turned out to be an actual sociopath. Hey, I know this is random, but I've been thinking about you, her text reads. You were probably the healthiest relationship I ever had. Stare at the message for a solid minute, processing the irony. Type back, then why did you break up with me for being too emotionally available? She responds, I was stupid and didn't know what I wanted. Now I realize emotional availability is actually really important. My face when she wants to get back together after dumping me for being emotionally mature. That feel when you realize some people need to date terrible people to appreciate good ones. Tell her, sorry, but I'm not interested in being your backup plan. Maybe find someone who appreciates emotional availability from the start. She tries to argue, but I've already learned my lesson about this particular brand of psychological torture. Block her number and go back to watching anime in peace. Kevin asks if I regret not taking her back. Hell no, I tell him. If she couldn't handle me at my most emotionally available, she doesn't deserve me at all. Realize that being emotionally healthy isn't the problem. Dating emotionally unhealthy people is that feel when you learn that the right person will appreciate your emotional maturity instead of being scared by it. Be me, 20, average-looking dude with questionable life choices. Match with this girl Scarlett on Tinder who looks like a solid 8 in her photos. Profile says she's into fitness and travel, which seems normal enough. First red flag should have been her bio, saying I know my worth, but I ignored it. Meet up for coffee and she shows up 20 minutes late without apology. Traffic was crazy, she says while clearly lying since she lives 2 blocks away. Order my drink and she immediately starts complaining about the barista's attitude. Did you see how that girl looked at me? Scarlett asks. She's obviously jealous. Barista was literally just doing her job, but apparently eye contact equals jealousy in Scarlett's mind. Try to change the subject, but she keeps going on about how other women hate her for being pretty. It's so hard being this attractive, she sighs like it's some kind of burden. Second red flag is when she starts talking about her ex-boyfriends within the first hour. My last boyfriend was so insecure, she says. He couldn't handle dating someone out of his league. Tells me about how she dumped him for being controlling when he asked her not to text other guys. Boundaries are just insecurity disguised as relationship standards, she declares. My autism brain is processing this information, but decides to give her the benefit of the doubt. Date continues and she mentions keeping a spreadsheet of guys she's talking to. I like to track compatibility scores and red flag metrics, she says proudly. Shows me her phone with an actual Excel document titled Dating Analytics 2024. Has categories like financial potential and social media following and likelihood to commit. This is pretty organized, I say, trying not to sound horrified. I'm a very logical person, she responds. Emotions are for weak people. Third red flag happens when the check comes and she just stares at me expectantly. Pay for both drinks because I'm not trying to cause a scene on the first date. She doesn't even say thank you, just assumes it's my responsibility as the man. Walk her to her car and she mentions how her ex used to pay for everything. Real men provide for their women, she says, while getting into her BMW that daddy clearly bought. Somehow convince myself that maybe she's just testing my provider instincts. Text her later that night saying I had a good time and would like to see her again. She responds 3 hours later with maybe and nothing else. Spend the next week overthinking that single word response like it contains the secrets of the universe. Finally asks me out again, but suggests we go to this expensive steakhouse downtown. Show up and she's already ordered appetizers and a bottle of wine without waiting. I got hungry, she explains while not offering to split the $100 wine she chose. Starts talking about her workout routine and how most girls are lazy compared to her. I do CrossFit 5 times a week, she brags. Most women can't handle real exercise. Proceeds to eat the entire breadbasket while lecturing me about discipline and willpower. Dinner conversation consists entirely of her talking about herself and her achievements, mentions her Instagram following and how she's basically an influencer. I have 3,000 followers, she says, like she just cured cancer. Shows me photos of herself in workout gear that are clearly thirst traps. These got over 200 likes, she says while scrolling through comments from horny dudes. Fourth red flag is when she starts flirting with our waiter right in front of me. You're so funny, she giggles at his basic small talk while completely ignoring me. Waiter brings the check and she again just stares at me like payment is my natural duty. Bill comes to over $200 and she doesn't even pretend to reach for her purse. Pay because I'm an idiot who thinks this might lead to something meaningful. She finally acknowledges my existence when we're leaving. Thanks for dinner, she says. You're definitely boyfriend material. My desperate brain interprets this as progress, despite all evidence to the contrary. Start dating officially after a month of expensive dates where I pay for everything. She moves into my apartment because hers is too small for her lifestyle, brings approximately 7 suitcases of clothes and immediately takes over my closet space. Starts rearranging my furniture without asking because my aesthetic is too masculine. This place needs a woman's touch, she declares while throwing away my anime figures. Catches me doing a Jotaro pose in the mirror and adds it to her red flag spreadsheet. Grown men shouldn't do cartoon poses, she says while updating her Excel document. Find out she's been documenting every weird thing I do in her compatibility tracking system. You breathe too loudly when you sleep, gets marked as red flag number 47. And you use too much ketchup, becomes red flag 51. Realize she's been treating our relationship like a scientific experiment this entire time. Sixth major red flag is when she starts demanding access to my social media accounts. Couples should be transparent, she says, while trying to grab my phone. Refuses to give me her passwords but expects full access to mine. I have nothing to hide, she claims, but you're acting suspicious by saying no. Catch her going through my messages when I'm in the shower. Confronts me about female coworkers who liked my Instagram posts from 6 months ago. Why is Jennifer from accounting liking your gym selfies? She demands. Jennifer is 50 years old and married with 3 kids, but apparently she's a threat. Starts making rules about which female friends I'm allowed to talk to. Sarah seems like a slut, she says about my friend who's been married for 5 years. My social circle slowly shrinks as she finds problems with every woman in my life. Even my sister gets labeled as too involved in your business and banned from visiting. 7th red flag cluster happens when she quits her job because her boss was sexist. Boss apparently asked her to show up on time, which she interpreted as gender discrimination. He wouldn't treat male employees that way, she claims about basic workplace expectations. Moves in completely and starts spending my money like it's her personal allowance. Buys designer clothes online and claims they're investments in our relationship. You want your girlfriend to look good, don't you? She asks when I question the spending. Credit card bill comes and there's $3,000 in charges I didn't make. Confronting her about money leads to accusations of being controlling and cheap. Real men don't make their women worry about money, she says while ordering more shoes. Start working overtime to afford her lifestyle while she spends days at the spa. Complains that I'm never home anymore, even though I'm working to pay for her existence. You care more about work than our relationship, she says without any sense of irony. 8th red flag constellation emerges when she starts talking about marriage after 2 months. Not romantic discussion, just logistics about ring size and wedding budget. I want at least a 2-carat diamond, she informs me like it's non-negotiable. Shows me Pinterest boards she's been making with wedding ideas, has already picked out the venue, and planned the entire ceremony without my input. Don't worry about the details, she says. I'll handle everything, and you just pay. Realize she sees me as a walking wallet with boyfriend benefits. Try to pump the brakes on marriage talk, and she accuses me of not being serious. Are you just wasting my time? She asks like we've been together for years. Starts giving ultimatums about proposal timelines and relationship escalation. If you don't propose by Christmas, I'm gone, she declares in October. Feel like I'm being held hostage by my own relationship. Friends start asking why I always look miserable when she's around. Tyler pulls me aside at a party and asks if I'm okay. You seem different, man, he says, like you're walking on eggshells all the time. Explain some of the situation, and he looks genuinely concerned. Dude, that's not normal relationship behavior, Tyler tells me. She's treating you like an ATM machine with emotional labor benefits. His words hit different because he's usually terrible at relationship advice. Start noticing how she talks to service workers and strangers, rude to waiters, condescending to cashiers, straight up hostile to other women. That girl at Starbucks was totally checking you out, she says about the teenager making my latte. Her jealousy extends to literally any female who acknowledges my existence. Even my grandmother gets suspicious looks when she hugs me at family dinner. Breaking point comes when she throws a tantrum at my cousin's wedding. Why didn't you introduce me as your future wife? She demands. We've been dating for 3 months and she's already planning our fictional wedding. Causes a scene at the reception because other couples are getting more attention. This should be about us, she says while sulking during the bride's speech. Drive home in complete silence while she pouts about not being the center of attention. Finally grow a pair and tell her we need to talk about our relationship dynamic. What do you mean? She asks like she's genuinely confused. Explain that relationships should be partnerships, not financial arrangements. So you don't want to provide for me? She asks with fake tears starting. I want us both to contribute, I tell her, emotionally and financially. She loses her absolute mind like I just suggested we join a cult. You're just insecure about dating someone out of your league, she screams. It pulls out her phone and shows me the spreadsheet with 94 documented red flags. I've been tracking your behavior and you're basically undateable, she declares. Red flags include things like chews too loudly and laughs at own jokes, where uses Reddit is apparently red flag number 73. Doesn't like the same music as me, gets its own category. Realize this psychopath has been documenting normal human behavior as character flaws. Maybe you should cope and seethe about being single then, I tell her. She gets even more angry because apparently I'm not allowed to have a backbone. You're just intimidated by a strong, independent woman, she shrieks. Strong, independent women pay their own bills, I respond with newfound confidence. She starts throwing my stuff around the apartment like a toddler having a meltdown. You'll never find anyone better than me, she yells, while packing her 7 suitcases. Based and red-pilled take, I say, which makes her even more furious. She storms out, claiming I'll come crawling back within a week. Tyler shows up an hour later with beer and pizza to celebrate my freedom. How do you feel? He asks while we watch her drama unfold on social media. Like I just escaped from a financial dominatrix who thought she was doing me a favor, I tell him. Spend the next month deprogramming myself from her psychological manipulation. Realize she had me convinced that her treating me like garbage was somehow normal. See her on Tinder again a week later with photos clearly taken in my apartment. Bio now says looking for a real man who can handle a boss babe. Swipe left harder than I've ever swiped in my life. That feel when you realize some women confuse being high maintenance with having high standards. My face when she called me insecure while maintaining a literal spreadsheet of my flaws.